This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Tuesday, February 26th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the intensifying crisis in Venezuela as the U.S. tries to force out its socialist leader. And Senate Democrats block a bill designed to protect babies born alive during an abortion. Plus, a look back at the abolitionist movement before the Civil War and the men and women who risked everything to make it work and the Christian influence on that movement. Plus, the Keto Diet has become extremely popular, but is it healthy? We're going to explore those stories and much more today on this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to begin, though, with the Trump administration assuring Venezuela's interim president that force is an option, but it's still hoping sanctions will pave the way for a peaceful transition of power. So far, the efforts to remove President Nicolas Maduro have proven useless, and the Venezuelan people are suffering greatly. Our Heather Sells is on this story.
Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro is striking back at the U.S. and all efforts to remove him from power. On Monday, he told ABC News the U.S. is getting ready to invade to get him out.
The United States wants Venezuela's oil, and they're willing to go to war for that oil.
The U.S. is downplaying the use of military force. Meeting with foreign leaders and Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido in Colombia, Vice President Pence called for more sanctions and humanitarian aid. Guaido wants assurances the U.S. will use force if necessary. Pence said force is an option, but the U.S. hopes for better.
In the days and weeks ahead, the United States will continue to deliver life-saving food for the hungry, medicine for the desperately ill, and shelter for those displaced by the brutality and deprivation of the regime. And while we stand with the Venezuelan people, we will also continue to stand up to all of those who would oppress them.
Venezuela's people are desperate. The economy is in shambles and they lack food and medicine. More than 3 million have fled the country. This weekend, forces supporting Maduro fired tear gas and buckshot to keep aid trucks from entering the country.
The world saw within hours on Saturday what Venezuela has lived with for years. The destruction of production, the burning of food, the burning of medicine that could save lives.
The military continues to publicly back Maduro, and so far, no high-level military leaders have defected. CBN's Chuck Holton is just back from the Colombia-Venezuela border. He says the dictator is getting support from the outside.
The populace is so powerless against the Maduro regime because they're being propped up by Russia and by Cuba. Maduro himself is being protected by over 400 Russian mercenaries right now. He doesn't even trust his own military to protect him.
Even the U.S. media seems powerless. Maduro briefly detained Univision anchor Jorge Ramos and confiscated his equipment after an interview because he didn't like the questions. The U.S. has asked the UN Security Council to meet today to discuss Venezuela. Right now, that council is divided, with the U.S. and many Western and Latin American countries backing the opposition, while Russia, China, and others support Maduro. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Senate Democrats blocked the passage of a Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act Monday night. Among other things, it would have threatened prison time for doctors who did not try to save the life of a baby born during a failed abortion. President Donald Trump called it shocking. He tweeted, "The Democrat position on abortion is so extreme, they don't mind executing babies after birth." Republican Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska sponsored the bill and said he was surprised by every vote against the bill, saying, "I want to ask each and every one of my colleagues whether or not we are okay with infanticide." Today on the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast, Paul Strand is talking about a religious liberty case the Supreme Court hears tomorrow. It deals with a World War I Veterans Memorial Cross in Maryland. Now, critics say it's unconstitutional because it's a cross. Supporters say crosses marked graves of most of those killed in World War I. If the court decides this cross has to go, it could affect thousands of others. Now, you can find that podcast at cbnnews.com on the show tab. Click on its title to listen and subscribe. We're going to have more on this story as well on tomorrow's edition of CBN NewsWatch. The city of Philadelphia may boot out a Catholic foster care agency for its policy of not placing children with same-sex couples, even at a time when the city desperately needs foster care help. But as Paul Strand reports, the city's willing to lose this faith-based agency because of its religious belief.
Much like the rest of the country, Philadelphia faces a challenge when it comes to finding homes for children. In March, it put out an urgent call for 300 foster families. At the same time, however, it demanded that Catholic social services endorse same-sex relationships or be ousted from their contract to do foster care business with the city.
Catholic Social Services has been serving the city of Philadelphia for over 100 years, and they've been doing that consistent with their religious mission since then. But the city has said that if they want to continue working, they have to endorse same-sex relationships, which is the one thing they're not able to do.
In court, lawyers at the Beckett Fund pointed out Catholic Social Services helped 2,200 foster children last year alone. So banning this agency is going to harm many children and the foster families who need the agency's help caring for those kids.
It's hurting families like plaintiff Ms. Sharonell Fulton, who's fostered over 40 children in the past 25 years and has said she'd be devastated if Catholic closed. Catholic Social Services trains, supports, and provides ongoing advice and help to families like Ms. Fulton. They have social workers who are on call 24/7.
Regarding the decision, Fulton wrote in the Philadelphia Inquirer, "As a single mom and woman of color, I've known a thing or two about discrimination over the years, but I have never known vindictive religious discrimination like this, and I feel the fresh sting of bias watching my faith publicly derided by Philadelphia's politicians." Reeves points out Philadelphia is booting Catholic Social Services, though not one same-sex couple has complained about the agency.
There's a clear foster care crisis, and 35 beds are sitting empty today because the city won't work with an effective foster care agency.
Though this one is battling back in Philadelphia, other faith-based agencies have given up and closed down in Boston, Washington, D.C., Buffalo, and throughout Illinois rather than endorse same-sex relationships. As for Catholic Social Services, they say they won't give up and they'll continue to fight on, because the one thing they can't do is endorse relationships that aren't consistent with their religious beliefs. Paul Strand, CBN News.
For more on this and other stories, go to cbnnews.com anytime for headlines you aren't going to see anywhere else, like our top trending stories today. You can read about the massive prayer rally by Christians hoping to see a revival in America. That story is titled, "Thousands of Christians Meet in Prayer and Worship in Orlando, Declare a New Era of Evangelism." Plus, the incredible story of what happened to a Christian in London. That headline is, "Don't Take My Bible Away." Shocking arrest of peaceful street preacher caught on video. And this story may surprise you. It's titled, "These So-Called Christian Witches in the Bible Say It Is a Book of Sorcery. Here's What the Bible Really Says." Now, all these stories and much more are all at cbnnews.com. If anything positive comes out of Syria's civil war, it could be the new government formed in the northeast part of the country. It is based on equal rights and religious freedom. As Chris Mitchell now reports, this new democracy could be short-lived if U.S. forces leave the area.
This new government runs from the Tigris to the Euphrates rivers.
We have a political system that was based on a social contract between all the groups, Arabs, Kurds, Syria Christians. In this social contract, they articulated how they want to live together as diverse ethnicities and diverse religions.
Bassam Issac is seeking support from U.S. leaders for this new government. He calls it a golden opportunity.
I don't think ever any political system in the Middle East guaranteed religious freedom. If you go back hundreds and thousands of years, this has not happened.
They also see a common bond.
Much of our aspiration actually is in line with the American Revolution. We don't want a country where citizenship and rights are based on ethnic identities or religious identity. We want all Syrians to be equal. We believe they were all created by God equal and to be free.
They also find inspiration in the Bible, where the prophet Isaiah wrote of a holy highway from Assyria, part of modern-day Syria, through Israel and Egypt.
This is actually our dream, is that the highway, that the crescent will be the Isaiah crescent, Lord willing, because it's a crescent of peace and prosperity. And according to Isaiah, when this Isaiah crescent is established, it will be a blessing for the whole earth. So we are really yearning for the Isaiah crescent.
Yet, he says, they need protection so this dream and democracy can stay alive. Ishaq says he wants to tell President Trump the existence of Christians there hangs in the balance given surrounding threats.
So I would say to him, Mr. President, God is entrusting you. God has entrusted America with power and ability. Please seek God, ask God before you make the decision, so that Christianity is not eradicated from Syria and from historical Mesopotamia.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, it has become a hot way to lose weight, the keto diet, but many people aren't doing it right. We're going to take a look at that diet and another way people can lose weight and be healthy right after this.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Welcome back. The ketogenic diet is sweeping the nation, but for far too many people, they're doing it the wrong way. Dr. Josh Axe, who has the #1 natural health website, is setting the record straight in his new book, Keto Diet. He told CBN's health reporter Lori Johnson, not only is the keto diet the best way to lose weight fast, the health benefits go far beyond that.
So many people have heard about the ketogenic diet. It's sweeping the nation, but there are a lot of misconceptions about it. What are you trying to tell people with this diet?
Well, the big thing is that there is a right and wrong way to do keto. If people do the keto diet the right way, it can be a breakthrough diet that kind of works when nothing else will. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who have experienced beating autoimmune disease, even cancer. I've seen people who lose weight very, very quickly, balance hormones, boost their brain health. And so the keto diet, there's a lot of medical research proving its benefits. The problem is a lot of people are, when they get on the keto diet, they're eating just conventional meat products and bad fats. They're not eating a lot of these healthy, healing foods like you teach on your show and I teach, on my website. And so people need to follow the keto diet the right way, which is what I lay out there in my book.
Right, so if you think you know what the keto diet is, stay tuned because you might be mistaken. Here's what it isn't. It's not a bunch of steak and meat and bacon and things like that. It's not a high protein diet.
Yeah, exactly. I was on social media the other day and I saw this recipe for a keto recipe. And the recipe was taking conventional shredded cheese, frying it in butter, putting bacon in the middle, and then frying more shredded cheese with butter. And I thought, that's just the wrong idea. That's not the right way to do keto, which is all not even organic. It's all conventional bacon and butter. Not that you can't have some grass-fed, pastured butter and some turkey bacon. You can on the diet. But the diet should consist of a lot of anti-inflammatory foods that are high in healthy fats, avocados, coconuts, olive oil, wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, and then loads of vegetables, herbs, and spices. That's really the key to doing the keto diet the right way.
So most of the diet is healthy fats?
You got it. So the ratio is typically around 70% healthy fat, 25% protein, 5% carbohydrates. That tends to be the diet. And what happens is your body gets into a state of ketosis.
Talk about what are good fats and what are bad fats, because a lot of people don't understand that the vegetable oils and the oils that are used in pretty much all fast food and restaurant food, those are the kind you really need to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me say this too, why the fats are important. One, 60% of your brain and nervous system are made up of fat, and every cell in your body is made up of fat. That's why we need to get these healthy fats in. The fats we want to stay away from are what I call the 3 C's and 3 S's. Canola oil, corn oil, and cottonseed oil. You want to stay away. Those are all processed vegetable oils. And then soybean oil, sunflower oil, and safflower oil that are processed. Those are those inflammatory oils you want to stay away from versus getting omega-3 fats, which are found in wild-caught fish, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, and hemp seeds, getting MCT oil, which is found in coconuts, and then also getting the good monounsaturated fats that are found in nuts and seeds, avocados, and olive oil. Those are the healthy fats we want.
And another big no-no is the vegetable oil. I cook a lot and I love to bake, and I'm telling you, 90% of the recipes call for vegetable oil. That stuff is bad.
The worst.
Yeah, and don't fry things in it. And the peanut oil, you know, we love our fried chicken and peanut oil. No, no, no. Stay away from that. So when you're talking about, you get into detail here in this book, Keto Diet, about which oils to use when you're frying, and you love olive oil, but we're really not supposed to get the olive oil hot, are we?
Yeah, cooking olive oil causes oxidation, so instead you want to use things like coconut oil, avocado oil, ghee, or grass-fed butter. Those are really the ideal things. I got a lot of charts. I actually have 80+ recipes, including things like keto pancakes, keto cookies, and a lot more in there.
In addition to what you saw there, the doctor is also talking about intermittent fasting and why we should all be doing it, and how to replace toxic household chemicals with organic essential oils. You can watch that entire interview on Healthy Living, which airs tonight at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, as Black History Month comes to a close, a look back at the abolitionist movement before the Civil War, the men and women, black and white, who were willing to put everything on the line to free the slaves, and the Christian influence on that movement. When we come back, stay with us.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
150 years ago, after a long and bloody civil war, Congress ratified the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, abolishing slavery in the United States. Of course, the battle began many years before that with the abolitionist movement. Thousands of men and women, black and white, risked everything for freedom. Charlene Aaron reports.
March 30th, 1849. A box arrives in Philadelphia with fugitive slave Henry Brown inside. Shipped from Richmond, Virginia, 27 hours earlier, he escaped with help from men on both sides of the racial divide.
The Underground Railroad was collaborative. You needed partners, you needed blacks and whites working jointly together to help people escape from slavery. People have seen the Underground Railroad as the first integrated resistance movement.
Anyone involved faced great risk. If caught, slaves were severely beaten and in some cases executed. Free blacks were sold into slavery. In the case of Henry Box Brown, he got away. But the white man who helped him served over 7 years in the Richmond Penitentiary.
If you assisted someone to escape from the Underground Railroad and you were white, you were seen as a far greater threat than a free black or an enslaved person. And so the punishment was extremely severe. In 1850 and 1860, you can look at the census records and see how many people were in the Virginia Penitentiary with the charge that they were helping someone try to escape.
But many were willing to take the risk, especially at the Anti-Slavery Society in Philadelphia. It was a key location in the Underground Railroad. Most fugitive slaves came from the Upper South, particularly Virginia and Maryland. The Anti-Slavery Society was founded in 1775 with members of both races. By 1838, they had their own building, but was burned to the ground after just 3 days, forcing them to go undercover. Society member William Still kept extensive records and published them after the Civil War in a book called The Underground Railroad. He gives examples of fugitives getting help in the form of homes, job training, money, even clothing.
By the 1830s, the northern factories were pumping out a type of cloth that was used in slave clothing. So you actually were branded by the clothing you had. So one of the first things you wanted to do once you got to the North is change your clothes.
Abigail Goodwin donated her best clothes. Still writes, her sister has often said that few beggars came to our doors whose garments were so worn, forlorn, and patched up as Abby's. Like a great many white abolitionists, Goodwin was a devout Quaker.
Originally, they called themselves Seekers of the Light, but they were given the name of Quakers because it was said that they trembled at the word of God.
Their battle against slavery came from core beliefs, originating with founder George Fox.
He came to the belief that there was that of God in every person. That's the wording that he used. There is that of God in every man.
Quakers signed the first anti-slavery resolution in the American colonies.
The most important thing about Quakers is that you live your values, and they tried to do that in every aspect of their lives, whether it was buying produce that was not made, grown or created by enslaved people, whether it was wearing garments that were not produced from cotton.
This is the Appoquinimink Meeting House, built in 1785. Just 20 square feet, it is presumably the smallest brick house of worship in America. But the Bible says, "Despise not small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin."
This was a preparative meeting, which meant that this was where people came weekly for their worship.
In the attic, where children met for Sunday school, is a hiding place for runaway slaves. Harriet Tubman is said to have stayed here. Tubman collaborated often with Thomas Garrett, a member of the Appoquinimink Meeting. Garrett helped over 2,000 runaway slaves make their way to freedom. Fined heavily, his home was put up for auction. The sheriff said, "Thomas, I hope you will never be caught at this again." Garrett's reply was typical of most agents in the Underground Railroad. "Friend, I haven't a dollar in the world, but if thee knows a fugitive who needs breakfast, send him to me." Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, a gift of millions of dollars for Christian missionary doctors in Africa from an unusual source. Stay with us.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
A Jewish businessman and philanthropist is giving millions of dollars of his wealth to help Christian missionary doctors in Africa. Mark Gersons, along with his wife, Rabbi Erica Gersons, is giving $5 million over the next 10 years to fund Christian mission teaching hospitals across Africa. The Gersons say the goal is to provide excellent health care and to train the next generation of African health professionals. Working with Africa Mission Healthcare, the Gersons hope the funds will give Africans access to quality, compassionate health care for generations to come. It is time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and here's a message meant to inspire you and those who you choose to share it with. Think on this for a moment. In your search for purpose, never forget you were created for worship. So with every breath, commit to living a life that extends worship to your Creator. With that word, I encourage you to make today a terrific Tuesday. Well, that will do it for this edition, this first edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more on the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com, and you can watch CBN News programs anytime at the CBN News channel. Plus, we'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Again, I encourage you to make this a terrific Tuesday and join us again right here tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.